whether it's Tyree Wilson from the Raiders, who I think there's been talk the Raiders may trade him at this cutdown. It's Darrell Taylor, who's now a Bear. It's Joseph Osai from Cincinnati. It's somebody else. I just think that the Niners are going to want one more defensive lineman that's not Alex Barrett. That's not just a practice squad guy. And I could see them trading a day 3 pick or a day 2 pick or something for a defensive lineman, maybe of note that Chris could plug in and work with. I think they're one D lineman shy. What do you think? I mean, is Tyree Wilson? There's talk that the Raiders may trade him. Would you be interested in Tyree Wilson if the Raiders decided they would take a 3rd or 4th round pick for him in next year's draft?
I know some viewers are in the comment section saying, Larry, you're pulling names out of your ass. Let me give you props, because on this show last week, you brought up Tyree Wilson. And I talked with our Raiders host here at Chat Sports on the Raiders Report, and I talked about this upcoming preseason game, and I asked him for some key storylines, key roster battles, what he's going to be looking out for. He said Tyree Wilson needs to play well, otherwise he could get traded. So I think Tyree Wilson, even though he was a 1st-round pick 2 drafts ago in 2023, is on the hot seat with the Raiders. And I look at him as a reclamation project. He could be a good depth piece. He's under team control for the next couple of years. I love the ability. And when you match that ability with quality coaching and a well-run organization that's a winning organization as compared to an awful organization that's a perennial loser with all this dysfunction with the Raiders, that's the type of player that I'm willing to take a chance on. It's a player with unbelievable ability, hasn't quite panned out, but you bring him into a better culture with the best defensive line coach in the NFL, Chris Kocurek, who has an unbelievable track record of these reclamation projects, developing defensive linemen, and using them to their strengths. And Tyree Wilson is a player who can play edge, but he can play defensive tackle. What did the Niners miss last year? They missed having an Arden Key, a Charles Omenihu, a Jordan Willis.
The NASCAR package.
Exactly. The NASCAR package. They missed that. They didn't have that. Charles Omenihu and Arden Key were really good players for this team. And I know that Cleveland Ferrell played pretty well. That was one of my predictions with Chris Kocurek. He was another former Raider like Arden Key, who comes to the Niners and has a near career year. Now he goes to Washington, and I think that Dan Quinn's going to be able to use him well. But those are the types of players that can really impact this defense. And he's still young, and I think there's a better football player in there, but the Raiders are so down on him, and they've panicked, and they've moved off these guys before. That's the type of player that I'm trying to pounce on. No character issues that I know about. In the pre-draft process coming out of Texas Tech, he did have a little bit of a foot issue, which is a little bit of a concern, but I like the player that Tyree Wilson is, and I like the usage and the role that he could play. And then lastly, he fulfills something that the Niners need. They're light at depth, at edge, and defensive tackle. They need a player like that, and I think that he could be a steal for San Francisco. And they have a lot of draft capital in the 2025 NFL draft. If it takes a 3rd, a 4th, maybe a combination of picks, that's something that I would think about, because I think the Niners have to get deeper along the defensive line.
Yeah, it seems unthinkable that a team would part ways with this guy so close after taking him in the top 10, but it's the Raiders. I mean, they parted ways with Alex Leatherwood, and this is what they do. They make bad picks. They divest themselves at a loss of those picks. They, cycle, rinse, repeat. That's basically it. One other last thought, and now this is a wild thought, okay, but go with me on this for just a second. What the Niners seem like they're staring at, and this is my final Aiyuk thought on this stream, is a PR nightmare. That's what it looks like they're staring at to me, Chase, a PR nightmare. They're either going to have Aiyuk back as an island unto himself, pissed off as hell because they made him play on the 5th-year option. So that's one option. And I think that's what would happen. He'd be pissed off as hell. He'd pout and sit in the corner of the room and be angry. They can trade him at a loss, it sounds like, to the Commanders or Steelers. And then John Lynch is going to get ripped by the media and the fans, and people are going to go to town on John Lynch. And suddenly it's going to go from a very comfortable job to a very uncomfortable job for John Lynch. So that's another option. Or the third option, and this is not really, I don't think of it as a viable option, but it might be their best option. If you're looking at a PR nightmare because you're going to lose Aiyuk for nothing or make him play on the 5th-year option, why not attach other assets to him and try for the home run ball and see if you can get Ja'Marr Chase out of Cincinnati, who's clearly better, clearly the best receiver in the game today. It doesn't solve your cap problem,
No.
but I'm getting the picture that it's not about the problem here. Doesn't sound to me, Chase, like it's the cap. The problem here sounds to me like it's a personal situation, that it's gotten personal between Aiyuk and the Niners, that it's gotten personal maybe between Shanahan and Aiyuk. It seems more personal than anything. Doesn't that make sense to say, yeah, I mean, the Niners have gone 3 years without a number one. Would it really kill them to trade another number one pick or a 1 and a 2 and Aiyuk to Cincinnati and go for the better receiver in Chase? And if it is a personal thing, just wipe the slate clean and start fresh with a new, better, younger, better option at receiver? I don't know. I mean, nobody's throwing that out. And yet Chase is sitting there unsigned. Cincinnati's not signing him. He's in exactly the same position. Instead of losing out on Aiyuk, why not trade up? Why not attach other assets and see if you can get even a better receiver? What do you think? I mean, is it totally crazy? Is Cincinnati absolutely not going to bite? I mean, I don't understand what their plan is with their receivers either. Higgins is in limbo and Chase is in limbo.
The Bengals are also a historically very cheap organization, and now they have, as you mentioned, 2 wide receivers who are looking to get paid, and I think they only hold on to one of them. And with Aiyuk and the Niners, things seem to be off. With Ja'Marr Chase and the Bengals, that relationship seems to be a little bit tumultuous right now. A couple of ways that you can look at this. Number one, this would be the ultimate flex by San Francisco. You wait. You can't come to an agreement with Brandon Aiyuk. He wants $30 million per year. There are a couple of reasons why you don't want to give him that money. Since the Christian McCaffrey trade, you're 32nd in pass rate. And do you want to pay a wide receiver $30 million per year when you are going to continue to be a run-centric offense? Also, are you sure that he is going to continue to be a top 5, top 10 wide receiver? And those are the hesitations, whether it be John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan in paying him, Parag and Jed York in paying him. The issue with Ja'Marr Chase, if you don't want to pay Brandon Aiyuk $30 million per year, I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to want 30 to 32, maybe $33 million per year. Now with Ja'Marr Chase, he's going into year 4. So you don't really have to worry about this until next offseason. If you did trade for Ja'Marr Chase, though, and you signed him to a contract $30 million per year, and he ends up having another masterful season, and you trade away Aiyuk and you attach some picks there, if you sign him now, do you get him for cheaper than what he might demand this time next year when the salary cap goes up again, and then inevitably the wide receiver market is going to continue to increase, and his price tag in turn will go up? There's no doubt that Ja'Marr Chase is up there with Justin Jefferson, 2 of the best wide receivers in the game. And Ja'Marr Chase, I think, is going to want to demand $35, maybe $36 million per year. But my goodness, what great production he's had for the Bengals in 3 years. I mean, he comes in as a rookie and was the offensive rookie of the year, a second-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler as a rookie, had 128 targets, 81 catches, 1,400 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Sophomore campaign, 134 targets, 87 grabs, more than 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. And then last year, 145 targets, 100 catches, 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Unquestionably the better player as compared to Aiyuk. What if Aiyuk wants 30? You somehow get wind that Ja'Marr Chase wants 30, and you're like, well, hold on, we can get the better player here. It would be hilarious. It would be a flex. It would be wild. And it would definitely help you in the Super Bowl window right now. Yeah.
It would be wild. And it to me, it would be maybe one of the only ways for the 49ers to emerge from this and be patted on the back. Nobody, if they sign him tomorrow and he shows up and he plays week 1 against the Jets and he plays great, we're talking about Aiyuk now. They're still going to get ripped for this ridiculous, endless, negotiation.
Yeah.
So you lose if you sign him. You lose if you trade him. You lose. I mean, they're literally set up to lose almost at every turn. The one way they win is if somehow they turned him into Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And I think Niner fans wouldn't even care about the picks, because we just saw a 3-year window where the Niners went to multiple NFC championship games and a Super Bowl, and they had no number 1 picks because they blew it on Trey Lance. So that, I don't think anybody's going to be too pissed about losing picks. They'll just be so excited that they have Jamar Chase that it will be like, look at this shiny object over here. And then suddenly John Lynch wouldn't be ripped. And suddenly it would be this like celebration as opposed to a failure. All right. Just an idea.
Hey, we know about the Niners. They want to win the negotiation. They want to win the PR battle.
I know. Seriously.
Yep.